He was the kind of person who thought about things deeply, too deeply. While others moved through life with a certain lightness, he carried the weight of 1,000 possibilities on his shoulders. Every decision, no matter how small, became a labyrinth in his mind. He would stand at the crossroads of choice and see not two paths, but infinite fractures of what could go wrong. It started young. As a child, he would lie awake at night replaying conversations from the day, a joke he made at lunch, the way someone looked at him in the hallway. He would dissect each moment until it became something unrecognizable, twisted by his own scrutiny. His mother would find him staring at the ceiling, eyes wide in the dark, and ask what troubled him. He never knew how to explain that nothing and everything troubled him at once. In school, he excelled in subjects that required thinking: mathematics, literature, philosophy. His teachers praised his depth of analysis, his ability to see layers others missed, but they didn't see the cost. While his classmates finished tests with time to spare, he agonized over every answer, second-guessing himself until the bell rang. He knew the material, he always knew, but knowing and acting were separated by an ocean of doubt. He dreamed of doing things, big things. He wanted to learn guitar, to speak in front of people, to travel to places he'd only seen in photographs. He would research for hours, planning every detail. He'd find the best guitar tutorials, map out practice schedules, read reviews until his eyes burned. But the guitar remained in its case. The speeches stayed as notes in a drawer. The trips existed only as pins on a digital map. His friends started to notice. They would invite him out, to parties, to spontaneous road trips, to late-night diners where the best conversations happened. He would say yes in his mind 100 times, but when time came to respond, he'd find a reason to decline. What if he said something awkward? What if they didn't really want him there? What if he went and regretted it, or worse, what if he didn't go and regretted that instead? The paralysis was exquisite in its cruelty. There was a girl. There's always a girl in the stories like this, but this wasn't a romance. This was about the romance that never happened. She sat near him in a coffee shop he frequented, always on Thursdays, always with a book. He noticed the titles: Murakami, Borges, Calvino, authors he loved. He crafted entire conversations in his head, imagined her laugh, the way she might lean forward when talking about something she cared about. He planned the perfect opening line for 6 months. 6 months of Thursdays, and then she stopped coming. He never learned her name. The years passed with a strange velocity. He was moving, but also standing completely still. He got a job, a decent one, but not the one he wanted. He told himself it was temporary, a stepping stone. He would apply for the dream position once he was ready, but ready never came. He'd spend evenings updating his resume, researching companies, writing cover letters that he'd revise until they lost all authenticity. The applications sat in his drafts folder like ghosts of a life he could have lived. His apartment reflected his internal state, clean, organized, but empty in a profound way. There were no photographs on the walls because he'd never taken the trips, no instruments because he'd never started learning, no art because he couldn't decide what he liked. He had lists, though, lists of books to read, skills to acquire, people to reconnect with. The lists grew longer as his time grew shorter. He started to notice the physical toll, headaches that arrived without warning, a tightness in his chest that made breathing feel like work. Sleep became elusive, and when it finally came, it brought dreams of running through endless corridors, searching for an exit that didn't exist. He would wake exhausted, already anxious about the day ahead before it had even begun. One evening, he sat at his desk and looked at his phone. 23 unanswered messages. Invitations to dinners, questions from old friends, opportunities that had expired. He felt something crack inside him, not dramatically, but quietly, like ice beginning to thaw. He realized he had been waiting for perfect certainty, for a guarantee that things would work out. But life didn't offer guarantees. It only offered moments, and he had let so many of them slip through his fingers while he stood frozen, thinking. He thought about all the mistakes he had avoided by never trying, but he also thought about all the joy, the connection, the growth he had avoided too. His overthinking had kept him safe from failure, but it had also kept him safe from living. He was 28 years old, and he felt like he'd been holding his breath for a decade. The realization didn't fix everything. There was no sudden transformation, no miraculous cure for the patterns he'd built over a lifetime. But there was a shift, subtle and fragile. He started small. He replied to one message, just one, an old friend asking how he'd been. He didn't overthink the response. He just wrote the truth. "I've been stuck, but I'm trying to unstick myself." The friend wrote back immediately. They made plans. He almost canceled 3 times, his mind conjuring disasters, but he went. The conversation was awkward at first, rusty from disuse, but then it flowed. They laughed. They shared silence that wasn't uncomfortable. When he returned home that night, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not the peace of having everything figured out, but the peace of having tried. He began to understand that overthinking wasn't about intelligence or care. It was about fear dressed up as prudence. Every hypothetical disaster his mind created was just fear wearing a different mask. And fear, he realized, had been making all his decisions for him. He didn't stop overthinking overnight. The patterns were too deep, too familiar. But he started to recognize when his mind was spiraling, creating problems that didn't exist yet. And sometimes, just sometimes, he could pause, take a breath, and choose differently. Choose action over analysis. Choose presence over planning. Choose the messy, uncertain beauty of the present moment over the sterile safety of his thoughts. The guitar came out of its case. His playing was terrible at first, fingers clumsy, rhythms uneven, but it was real. The sound existed outside his head, imperfect and alive. He booked a trip, just a weekend, somewhere close. He didn't plan every detail. He wandered, got lost, found his way back, felt the anxiety, but kept moving through it. Life didn't become perfect. He still had nights where his mind raced, where doubt crept in like fog, but he also had moments of clarity, of action, of being fully present in his own life. And those moments, he learned, were worth more than 1,000 perfect plans that never left the page.